Welcome to the What If podcast with your hosts, Spencer Worth Davis and Ryan Copperrood.
This is the What If podcast. My name is Ryan.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Spencer.
Here we are.
British lady.
Yep.
British lady told you who we are, but British lady didn't tell you who the third guest in the room is today. My man, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's Chance. It's Chance York, baby.
What's happening?
What's up,
Dude,
brah?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. How about you?
We're doing okay, man.
Man, I'm feeling
doing
good.
okay.
I'm feeling good.
I'm still worried about Bruno, but you know,
Bruno watched 2017.
no news is good news when it comes to Bruno being abducted by aliens.
No news, good news.
No, I mean, is it?
No, it's probably bad.
That means he's probably like splayed out, being dissected on a ship
Hey, well, you know,
a few million light years away from me.
Y'all seen Inferno?
I don't know what that is.
That damn Brown book turned movie. It's like the Da Vinci Code part 2, 3, 4.
no.
I have not.
Did somebody get abducted by aliens?
Nah, but motherfucker disappeared and then bad things were meant to happen. Don't worry about it, man. I was just checking.
All right, well, we'll hope Bruno bad things have not happened to him.
He's probably fine.
In his
It sounds like his parents know where he is.
does it? Did
Yeah.
they? Okay.
Yeah, no, he's trying to sell some books or something, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we'll keep you posted on Bruno Watch 2017 if there is any major updates. We do have a different current event to talk about.
Well,
though,
yeah, before that though, I need to issue an apology to the state of Wisconsin. Some people got pretty mad about my perceived slight of our neighbor to the east.
Yeah, Chance, if you didn't get a chance to listen to our episode from last
Wisconsin
week.
mad?
Well,
they mad at the what if?
What had happened was
I may have said Wisconsin can go fuck themselves. I didn't mean it.
It doesn't sound like something you'd mean.
It was metaphorical, or no, I just didn't mean it.
Hey, but if people in Wisconsin are fucking each other, Wisconsin is fucking itself.
Well, that's
Right,
I guess that's true.
So it's really just like a spread love in a very weird way.
Right, in a slightly aggressive way.
No, we were just explaining to the people that we actually have more listeners in Sweden than we do in Wisconsin. So we were trying to. Spencer was using a bad dad.
Right, he was scolding. He was scolding.
Yeah, it was a bad motivation tactic to get more Wisconsin listeners. Which is
Yeah.
I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed.
Get in
Right.
step. Get in
Yeah.
step, Wisconsin.
Right. And then Sweden let me down this week anyway, so fuck
Right.
'em, you
No-
know,
nobody from
no
Sweden-
national anthem for you this week.
Yeah, Wisconsin people said, "Oh, come on," and nobody from Sweden was like, "Thanks for playing
Right.
our anthem."
So
on
What
the
was
show.
the topic
Wisconsin,
that
you're all
Sweden
right.
was actually tuning in? Like, well,
That's
maybe
a
it
great
had
point.
more to do with what you were talking about than just
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Maybe if we do want to, so our goal is to do our first out of the country live show in Sweden. If we get enough listenership there,
If we can get like 14 people to show up, we're gonna do it.
maybe like we'll have to do a 4-episode arc of just like Swedish what if questions. Like, what if Swedish sausage is the best food in the world? And Swedish people will be like, "Yeah, thanks."
It's like, what if
And
Swedish
everyone
fish
else
give you
will
cavities?
unsubscribe from our podcast. No, the one current event story I did want to get to is about space dolphins.
Space dolphins.
What?
Yeah, we talked about dolphins
I
last
was
time.
gonna
you were
say,
here,
what
Jay.
is this? This is crazy. It's
The
happening again. Is this a coincidence?
Hey,
it might be. It might be.
well alluded, my friend.
I'll turn the space dolphins down a little
I was
bit.
gonna say, that dolphin feels like it's inside my head right now. It's so loud.
Hey, dolphin, go fuck yourself.
Get out of my head.
Swimming in my brain juice.
The Cassini space probe that was flying by Saturn a while ago.
Yeah, how long did they say? How long ago it was actually flying around there?
I don't know. Don't ask me details like that.
Well,
Come
Did
on.
the dolphin have a parachute in
October
case?
28th of 2015. How about that? I gave
Okay.
you a specific date.
My man nailed it. So why did it take so long for us to get told this cool information?
Dude,
Well,
it's a time zone thing. Don't worry about it, man.
It's far away, man. It's like they're super East Coast time.
It's way
This is on
the
East Coast
far-
time, which means information doesn't get to us for 17 months.
In Enceladus,
time
man,
zone thing.
they're like 40 some time zones away. It's
true.
real far. I don't know. I would imagine the info takes a while to get back, and then they have to analyze it and figure out if there's actually anything meaningful in there.
All right, that's real.
But yeah, the Cassini space probe flew past Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, and this moon was exciting already because it was ejecting water vapor from one of its poles.
Ooh.
So they had figured that there was
Done
probably it was just space farts just flying out of Enceladus's butt. And
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
they assumed that there was water underneath the frozen surface of the moon.
Right. That would.
What moon is it again? I missed that.
Enceladus, it's one of Saturn's moons.
I've not heard of that one.
And they flew the probe like through one of these plumes of water vapor to try and figure. Yeah, they went right through the fart cloud to try and figure out what the composition of the molecules and stuff was.
Probing that hole.
Yep.
That's
Gotta do
wild.
it. And they found out that there was molecular hydrogen in there, which is important in that it indicates, well, at least on Earth, it usually is an indicator of life. Because molecular hydrogen is used by tiny organisms to produce methane from carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So I don't totally understand the science, but on Earth, it is a byproduct of microorganisms and life. Yeah, creating
doing what we do and making.
So what's the
methane.
surface of the planet like?
It's ice mostly.
It's frozen over. Isn't there one? Is that a moon of? I don't remember which planet has the moon, but Europa is the same situation.
That's Jupiter,
right?
but yeah. Yep.
It's like a frozen surface, but they believe that there is thermal energy going on, so there is likelihood of like geothermal life.
Right, and that's kind of what they're thinking with Enceladus too, is that there might be organisms that hang out next to geothermal vents underneath this frozen surface, and
like
there's
like our planet.
Right. Yep. So like a lot of the small organisms that live next to the geothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean. Same thing might be going on on some of these moons in the outer solar system.
That's crazy. You know what I think about every time we have one of these conversations about NASA being like,
is we need to make a space submarine?
well, okay, so I think we do need to make a space submarine if we're gonna get there. What if you
Built a space sub?
Built a space sub. Boy, that sounds real expensive. I mean, I know everything NASA does is expensive, but that sounds real expensive.
A space flight. Yeah, well, man, if you think of like the Millennium Falcon, that shit can go underwater. It did it on Dagobah.
That's true. So
Great
maybe we
point.
just need to build. Maybe, hey, Elon,
Get busy.
get busy, bro.
You're not doing enough.
You're not doing enough to save
Stop
the
with that.
goddamn
Go fuck
planet.
yourself.
Let's stop putting so much time and effort in that stupid ass Hyperloop idea and
Oh man,
get a space sub going.
a space sub. No, but the thing that I think about always is like we catch this stuff and we go like, oh shit, it might be alive. We should examine it and bring it back. And I'm sure obviously it would be under like massive, quarantinement when it got back. But I'm always like, a small microorganism from a foreign planet might be bad for us. Like there's a chance that it could just
Invasive species.
yeah, it could like there might be a reason there's no other life on that planet. It's because these
Did you know on the
microorganisms-
I
Amazon?
don't think the plan would be to take something back necessarily. You just like blast your space sub through the
Just gotta
icy
rinse it
core.
off, get the
And
zebra
then you take
mussels
some-
off there.
Yeah, you take some pictures of
Spray it down.
take some pictures of the space dolphins, send those back.
That's true.
Space Loch Ness monster eats your space sub, and that's that.
Damn, did we just write the plot to a dope ass movie?
It sounds like a terrible movie.
I was
but
gonna
yeah.
say he doesn't watch a lot of movies.
I don't know. I've been doing better, man.
You
I've
ever
been doing
watch-
better. The last like 5 episodes, I've nailed like, yes, I have seen it. So
Do you ever see
Damn.
Apollo 19 where they get killed by moon spiders?
wait, what?
No,
Apollo
okay.
19.
That's a real movie?
Yeah, it's horrible. Don't watch it.
Ooh.
Man, the lengths that you go to be like, this could be some dope alien paranormal shit, and then be like, oh no.
Space spiders. Moon spiders.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say Starship Troopers 2 was pretty far from the mark. And considering that there's actually a lot of promise in the first one.
The first one was good. The first Starship Troopers was tight.
Haven't seen it.
Oh,
What?
there's
I know.
there's
There you
also
go.
Role
spiders.
reversal.
Bless
here.
you.
All right. Should we actually get around to our topic?
Yeah, so Chance alluded to it, but we didn't actually say our question for today's episode. But we do have one.
Yeah.
Spencer, what if it's all connected?
Ooh.
What if it's all connected, Chance? Do you think it's all connected?
Yeah.
Do you?
Chance and I wrote a song about that once.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real.
For real.
For real. We're talking about coincidences today.
And synchronicities.
And synchronicities.
Yeah.
We're going to tell some interesting anecdotal stories around them. And we're going to talk about Carl Jung. Jung. The J is soft. Jogging.
Yes.
I believe it's pronounced jogging.
I believe it's pronounced jogging. Should we start with the definition as we are wont to do when we talk about things?
Both in the regular way and then the Carl Jung way.
Yeah. So your general dictionary is going to give you this one. A coincidence is a remarkable occurrence of events or circumstances which have no apparent causal connection with each other. The perception of remarkable coincidence may lead to supernatural, occult, or paranormal claims, or it may lead to a belief in fatalism, which is a doctrine that events will happen in the exact manner of a predetermined plan.
Ooh. Two or more things that occur that seem related but don't have a causal connection, meaning one did not cause or influence the other.
I think that's well summarized. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I don't feel like I have. It's interesting. Like, I feel like we say conversationally a lot, like, "Oh, that's what a crazy coincidence" or whatever. But like,
I don't.
You don't say that
I haven't.
because you don't believe in them.
No, not really. I mean, serendipity or like, whoa, like that's.
what's the difference?
I guess I don't know. I just don't really use the word coincidence. It's just like good timing. Like good timing and awareness, because that's really what it is. The biggest combination of it's like things have to come together at the right time, and then you have to notice. Because really, when you grow your awareness, then you start seeing the shit all over the place, and it doesn't really seem like. I
think what you're referring to, though, is more of what Jung would call a synchronicity,
right?
Sure. Which he defines as a meaningful coincidence. So there can be coincidences like I check out a book from the library and the barcode is the first 7 numbers of the barcode are my phone number.
Right.
That's a coincidence, right? Those two things. One, the book didn't cause my phone number to be what it is. My phone number didn't cause the barcode to be what it is.
But they're connected.
And yet they seem related.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have happened unless you looked and saw that, like, the moment happened where you're like, like
it relies on me to make the connection too, right?
And that shit happens.
But it's not meaningful in any way, right? There's no sort of meaning or information that I can draw from that. It's just like, those two things are similar.
Sure.
What he would call a meaningful coincidence or a synchronicity is he gives a few examples in the book Synchronicity.
Aptly titled Synchronicity.
And it's a kind of a very dense read.
Was it a dry read from Carl Jung?
It's not necessarily dry. Like the information is good, and he has some interesting stories in it, and his logic is all super super sound, but it's just heavy. Like there's a lot of information, and it's written in a very dense kind of way.
That doesn't entirely surprise me, but just for who he was.
So he gives one example of a woman from Germany who took a picture of her kid, and she brought the film in to be developed. And this was in 1914 in Germany.
Okay.
So she takes a picture of her kid, brings the film in to be developed, and never collects it because war breaks out in between, like the day where she dropped it off and when she was supposed to pick it up.
Okay.
So she never collects the film.
Perks of living in Germany in that time.
Yeah. 2 years later,
of war.
Right? 2 years later, she buys another roll of film. And back then, I guess you would buy a single negative, a single sheet of film.
Oh, wow.
So you could take one picture and then you get it developed. So she goes and buys another, 2 years later, she buys another negative, another sheet of film, and takes a picture of her other kid who had been born in these last 2 years.
Yeah.
Brings the film back, gets it developed this time, and it turns out that the film had been double exposed with the picture of her daughter from 2 years ago. So she takes this picture, brings it to be developed. She never picks it up. they accidentally repackage it as being new unexposed film and put it back on the shelf. 2 years later, she buys the exact same negative and takes another picture of her other child with it. And
that's a lot.
She got a double exposed photo of her 2 kids.
Okay, wait. Is this Jung saying like this would be an example of a meaningful coincidence?
Yes, but it is also a real story.
It is
this
a real
actually
story.
happened. Yeah.
Fact checked.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
He cites it in this book.
That's fucking crazy.
So that would be meaningful in that.
Ooh. Is that what do you call that drum?
It all came together.
A happy drum, HAPI.
HAPI drum. All right, so Chance is controlling the happy drum, and every time we get to the punchline of a coincidence, you got to give us a little happy drum chime. There we go. Perfect.
So that would be a meaningful coincidence, right? It's her 2 kids.
Sure.
It's very specific to her. Whatever. It's more than just like these numbers line up with the sheet I got at the deli when I bought a sandwich.
That makes sense. Can I ask you a question?
No. Sorry.
All right, keep going. No, so isn't it all about how you assign meaning? Like what if the content of the book that had your cell phone number on the barcode was the book that you read that like changed your career or something like that? Like then that becomes that coincidence started to stack with meaning in a way.
It is all very subjective. Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
What he was trying to do with some of this book, Synchronicity, is establish a more empirical way of measuring these things.
Sure.
And he did a lot, or references a lot of studies with of ESP.
Oh yeah.
And trying to figure out. So these studies of ESP, like we've talked about some of this stuff on the show before, but someone in another room, they have a stack of cards with different pictures on them,
right?
And as they're looking at one, someone in the other room is supposed to try and identify
which the one they're looking at.
Yo, did I mention Starship Troopers?
You did mention Starship Troopers.
And
go ahead and watch that.
Some people are able to
this conversation
significantly outperform chance on these things.
Yeah.
So then
Doogie Howser. No, it'll make sense if you watch the
movie. He's trying to say, okay, then is this just a coincidence? Is it chance? What is chance? Is chance just another way of saying we don't really understand how things are connected to each other? Because if you could really measure everything that goes into what we call chance, it wouldn't be chance.
Whoa.
It's real.
Right? He's saying that somewhere down the line.
I'm not gonna lie, I've never thought about it like that before, which makes me feel kind of dumb right now. Yeah. But just that we go like, oh, that's pretty weird, isn't it? And then we just like go about our days without going like, maybe
people are weird.
Maybe there's a possibility that this is bigger than anything that we could like. And we kind of talked about this with Mason when we were talking about remote viewing and that concept of like maybe the reason that someone can see what picture you're looking at in another room from 2 cards is just because we don't really understand the next level of like how things work.
Right. And probability on a macro scale makes sense. It works.
Right.
But when you get down to individual instances, probability doesn't really explain what's happening.
Right.
And so the whole thing is him kind of looking at, well, is there another way of explaining that? And are these coincidences or these synchronicities an effect or an outcome of that? Anyway, we could spend
an mind's blown already.
An entire episode on that book, but yeah, give it a read. You can read it in a day. It's probably like,
oh, is it not that long?
It's like less than 100 pages.
Oh, okay.
I read slow.
Chance could read it. We'll give you more than a day.
We'll give you 2 days.
Yeah, 50 pages in a day is realistic.
If it's dense like psychiatry book shit, that's
gonna take me 10, 20 pages in one sitting.
And it's originally transcribed from speeches of his, so it's the formatting the flow is a little bit weird sometimes, and I found myself having to stop and reread sections or take notes to really make sense of what was going on,
because it wasn't like necessarily designed to be all one train of thought,
right?
Originally,
or you just speak differently than you might write or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, that's Synchronicity by Carl Jung. It kind of we don't have time to dive into the whole thing, but it gives a good sort of context to a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. And he was actually the first to coin the term synchronicity.
Okay. As it relates to like the next level of coincidence.
Yeah, or coincidences that seem to have some sort of meaning to them.
He coined the phrase. He made the word up?
He didn't. No.
The etymology makes sense.
Right. The synchronicity existed as a word before that. He was the first one to apply it to this set of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
A non-causal, meaningful relationship
Connection,
between two things.
Yeah.
Damn!
Yeah.
Damn!
Should we get into crazy?
Yes.
Should we get into some crazy stories?
Yeah, so we all got some crazy coincidence stories.
Do we? I was just thinking, can I just tell mine first? Because it's probably not nearly as crazy as you guys' is.
Yeah.
But it applies. All right,
Please do.
Yesterday, all right, little backstory.
Wait, this happened yesterday?
Yeah, my...
Wait, time out. I'm sorry. Is it a coincidence that this morning we asked you to be on a podcast about coincidences and you had a coincidence yesterday?
No, this shit happens every day to me because
Right,
I just pay. I try. Well, not every day, but I notice it happening a lot. I always have. But and it's really not that like whoa. It's not that mystical, but it's significant. So my 4-year-old is potty training. And it has like, it's been like a really up and down thing emotionally for me. I take it hella personally. I'm like constantly trying to like chill the fuck out. It's like you can't micromanage a kid to learn how to pee in the potty.
Sure.
She's the youngest of two. She was peeing and pooping in the potty when she was 1.5 years old.
Okay.
And loved it. We're like, this is great. This is the easiest, this is way easier than our oldest one. We can't believe how quickly she learned how to potty train.
Nice.
Like few months later, she fell in, more or less. She was just overconfident, like jumped on and slid in.
I got this.
And got a wet ass out of it. And that was like the end of it. She cried a little bit. Didn't seem like a big deal. She never peed in the potty again. Still like up until... and there's a course of things, and it mostly involves me where I'm like trying to reason with her. I'm like, understand, you've done this before. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just pee on the potty.
Right.
She'll sit on the potty for 2 hours, get up and pee standing next to it. So there's all sorts of like, there's obviously all this emotional stuff, and then me like reacting, being like, why? So a lot of stress is like me trying to just chill the fuck out and let her learn how to potty train herself. Well, yesterday I was trying to record and my hard drive was full and I was scrolling through just to erase a bunch of pictures. I had all this stuff backed up. It's just on my laptop and I was just scrolling through like 10,000 pictures, and I'm like just zipping through. It's like a blur. I'm highlighting these things and for some reason it pops up and on the thumbnail I can see it's her, like 1.5 years old, sitting on the potty, smiling, like having like the best time. And I was like, whoa, wasn't looking for it or anything. Found these pictures, threw them on my desktop, and was like, I'm about to show her this and remind her, you've done this before. Look how happy you are. I was like, how happy all of us were. It's like, you can do it, And last night she peed on the potty, and it'd been the first time in 2.5 years or something.
Word.
And I'm like, damn, if it weren't for just like me noticing that this tiny thumbnail of all this random stuff that I was highlighting, it jumped out at me, and I was just meditating on that. I was like, damn, like that's what I needed. I needed to look back to show her and all this stuff, and I wasn't even trying. So it was kind of like a coincidence.
It was
strange coincidence.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, right. And it was just good timing, and it just reshaped the whole conversation. And it turned more into like a plea, like just please pee on the potty, for us. Like we don't want to buy any more diaper. Like we know you can do it. Like
right.
You can do all these other things. You're a grown kid. You can do it.
And I think like to your point about when you were saying like serendipity is or is not a thing as it relates to a coincidence. I feel like to me they almost seem synonymous, right? Like a serendipitous thing is just a meaningful coincidence.
Right.
Well, it usually implies a positive one too, right?
That's true, I guess. I'd have to re-examine the
I mean, I think that's usually how
definition,
people
but
use it.
Yeah,
at least,
serendipity.
as
Like
a
it was
positive
meant to be
connotation,
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you were meant to find that photo last night so that you could stop like ripping your dreads out over the fact that your baby won't pee
I know.
in the pot.
Well, and just like causing more stress on her too. I'm like, I need to chill out. You know, like this isn't about me. Like I just need to take a step back from the stuff. But then like, yeah, it was just meant to happen the way that it did.
Word.
And then I remembered how it happened. And I'm like, if that hadn't happened, that hadn't happened. You know, like
Right.
just seeing how everything leads into the next thing.
Right.
You guys want to talk about some 500-year-old death curses?
Whew, and pretty much the same topic.
Peeing in potties, 500-year-old death curses.
I've been working on my segues. You guys like that one?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Tamerlane's curse.
Tamerlane. Tamerlane?
Well, okay, so Amir
Timbaland, go fuck yourself.
Timbaland's curse. Amir Temur.
Amir Temur.
Yep, sometimes called Tamerlane because short for Timur the Lame.
Timbaland.
Sick burn.
Yeah,
to whoever
well-
named that dude.
I got him.
Got him forever.
He was actually lame because
Oh, sad.
well, it's pretty funny actually. He tried to steal a sheep. Yep, and
Tell me you tried to ride it.
I don't know what he was trying to do with it. I didn't ask him. But the shepherd came out and shot him with 2 arrows.
Whoa.
One
Yikes.
and hit him once in the leg and once in the hand, and the arrow took off 2 of his fingers on his hand,
Damn.
and the one in his leg crippled him for life. So he had a weird limp, and his hand was all messed up because he was missing 2 fingers. And so anyway,
Good shot. Shout out to the shepherd.
right?
Wow.
Protecting his sheep.
I can't believe that 500 years ago, people had bow and arrows that were like,
Cut your finger off.
get away from my sheep! Bam! And just like nail dudes with
Well,
it.
and this would have been longer ago than that. So Amir Temur lived from 1336 to 1405.
How do we even
What part of
have
the world?
Yeah, where are we?
We are in, well, I'm going to get to that in a second, but
How do we
all
even-
over Asia and the Middle East.
Okay. How do we even have documentation of this story from that old?
I'm going to get to that.
All right. we're
Legend
gonna-
has it.
All right, me and
Yeah.
Chance are going to shoot the fuck up. Like, a second to let you get the story going.
Turns out this dude was pretty important.
Timbaland!
He was
Timbaland.
born in the city of Kesh in what is now Uzbekistan. And he was a conqueror who at one point ruled most of the Middle East and Central Asia in the 1300s.
Not the goat, not the sheep stealer.
No, same guy. And
Okay.
when he was little, he tried to steal a sheep, and the shepherd got him, crippled him, and that's why he was called Tamerlane or Timur the Lame, because
But he was still a conqueror. He still became a conqueror.
he did.
So
yes, in spite of his lameness.
good for him.
Well,
I was, for a second there,
Or
depends on who you ask.
I was gonna say, we'll see where this is going.
I was thinking for a second, I was thinking that the sheep stealing story happened after, and I was like, damn, that's a massive downgrade, bro. You're like,
You ruled all of Asia, and then you were
You
reduced to
stealing
stealing
sheep.
sheep.
you're conquering countries at one point, you're like, I am hungry, and I'm about to go steal a sheep.
I'm hungry and lonely. I need 2 sheep.
Yeah, right.
What path took you there, Termalerm? Termalerm.
All right. He saw himself as Genghis Khan's heir.
Didn't he have a lot of them?
Well, he
yeah,
thought
that's real.
He thought his role was to reestablish the Mongol Empire after Genghis Khan died,
Bold move.
and he was pretty successful. He ended up killing over 17 million people,
Jesus.
which at the time,
He sounds lame as fuck.
yeah,
right.
which at
Tamerlane.
the time was roughly 5% of the world's population.
Termalerm.
Which was roughly 1/3 of Genghis Khan's descendants.
Yeah, right. That's right.
He invaded Georgia, Armenia, Persia, which is now Iran, Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, China, India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Russia. He was all over the place.
This is in the mid to late 1300s.
Yeah. Yep. He was
Okay.
born in 1336. He died in 1405.
No,
So-
good for people that were getting out and traveling. Though.
Wow.
Even back then, it was probably way harder.
So-
it's easy to be a homebody back then.
People
Going country to country.
You know, good for them.
Some people regarded him as a hero because he united a lot of Asia, and like at the time, most of the Muslim world was under his reign.
That's a hell of a way to unite people by being like, you're either dead or with us.
Right. And the people that he killed all of their family forever didn't really like him.
Yeah, I can see why.
In 1395, he invaded and besieged Moscow.
Okay.
And held Moscow for a year.
Whoa.
And then randomly left. I don't know if he decided
saw all the sights.
Too cold.
His troops were needed elsewhere, or just wasn't really messing with Moscow, or what.
I'm realizing now that when I asked the question, how would we possibly have a document about this guy's sheep stealing story as a child?
Yep, there are good reasons.
It's because he killed 5% of the world's population, so people talked about it a
So
little
if his
bit.
leg was fucked up, he was still good at like arrows or swords.
I think he just had a lot of people doing his bidding for him somehow.
So he was smart.
Yeah,
He had a dope
Very
chariot
smart.
driver.
He was a good speaker.
he was regarded as a
Poor
military,
sheep stealer,
a
but
military genius.
Very good. He was a strategist.
He was trying to compensate his entire life.
He was thinking back on how the sheep stealing went wrong. He said, I need to plan better next time.
Yeah. So he invaded Moscow, held it for a year, and when he left, the Russian Orthodox Church actually ascribes it as a miracle, thanks to Our Lady of Kazan.
Okay.
So the Russian Church this day still calls that a miracle, that he left and like basically left them alone while taking over all the rest of the Eastern world at the time.
Like, thank you for not terrorizing us anymore. Okay.
Places like Iraq and Iran and India think he's an evil villain of a man because he killed most of their people.
Lame.
Yeah.
Quite.
He's officially recognized as a national hero in Uzbekistan, however. So, depends on who you ask. But,
Interesting take.
he was specifically praised by Stalin as a leader of the resistance of the Mongols and a conqueror of the Golden Horde. I don't know what that is.
But wait.
But Stalin was fucking with him because he left Russia alone way back in the day.
Okay, but I thought he was trying to be like the Mongols. Like, wasn't he trying to be like Genghis Khan?
Yes.
So how did he defeat that? You know, Stalin, he had a lot of twisted ideas.
Yeah, let's not look for logic from Joseph Stalin.
Okay, yeah.
In 1405, Timur the Lame was taken out by pneumonia. And he died. And he was buried in a very fancy tomb somewhere in Uzbekistan.
Okay.
All right. So that's 1405. We're jumping 530 years forward.
To 1940?
1941. Yes.
Oh, pretty
World War II.
close.
So in
Look at my
1941,
math.
Stalin decides that he's going to find and unearth the tomb of Amir Temur. And he sends a team of archaeologists to Uzbekistan to find it and to open it.
Did he say why he wanted to do that?
He was regarded as like this national hero of Russia and magical powers.
Mysticism.
Yeah, they were into a lot of weird mystical shit
That
back
was
then.
definitely going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think also it would be sort of like a, collecting cultural and historical icons type
They
of
were
endeavor.
way into that back then.
Yeah.
Nazis
But wait.
were doing that all over the world.
But wait, Russia didn't like him. They liked that he left them, right?
Right.
Okay.
But there was generally like, because he spared them and
All right.
not the rest of the East, basically.
There was like some like thanks for not killing us all kind
Yeah.
of thing. All right. So like, all right, I'm with it.
So Stalin sends a team of archaeologists and a film crew to Uzbekistan to find this tomb and to open it and to document it.
Please tell me that's a documentary we can watch later tonight.
You can get
No,
to it.
it became The Mummy 3.
Featuring real footage from
Yes. Brendan Fraser. There were discussions about like where the tomb was located because a lot of this land had changed hands multiple times in 500 years.
Makes sense.
They eventually found out where it was in Uzbekistan and found the specific building that it was in. They go there and find the tomb and start cracking it open. And the stone on his gravestone had been broken, and correlates with this legend about it that the Persian king who idolized Timur took his gravestone as a trophy after capturing Uzbekistan at one point. But after that, misfortunes one by one started haunting him, and he was advised to bring the gravestone back. So in some like Indiana Jones type shit, he steals the gravestone, starts instantly having all kinds of horrible luck, and brings it back. But in the process, he broke it, but still left it there.
The curse of Termalerm's gravestone. Termalerm's gravestone.
So the Soviets find it and they exhume it, and when they find it, it's inscribed with the words, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble."
Whoa, motherfucker wasn't playing.
And
That's some pretty raw shit to put on your casket.
okay, hold on.
Whoa.
Followed by, "Whoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I."
Whoa.
Damn.
And when they
Stay
were
away shit.
Yeah, when they were in Uzbekistan asking around, like, do you guys know, asking some of the locals, like, where it might be or how to find it, everyone they talked to basically told them, like, do not fuck with that.
Yeah,
Yes, we know where it is.
You don't
We're
want
not going to
to
tell you, and you don't want to go. You don't want to go fuck with it.
Bro, how tripped out were the archaeologists who walked in there for the first time? They're like, cool, we found his tomb. We opened it up. What does it say? Oh, God.
You don't want to hear this.
God.
So in addition to that,
Oops.
the film crew that they sent, none of their gear worked once they got there.
Okay.
So there
Fishy.
there are no
Okay.
actual recordings of this. Gets back into some of the
Fishy.
paranormal shit of like electrical equipment just often doesn't work around weird paranormal cursed stuff.
Real talk.
Or like, we're going to make up a more epic story than what we were going to film.
Okay. Coincidences. So that's all the backstory.
Okay,
The
yes.
coincidences related to opening the tomb of Timbaland.
Termaler.
They opened the tomb on the morning of June 22nd, 1941,
Okay.
which was the same day that Hitler invaded the Soviet Union.
That's a bad day.
Resulting from this, the Soviets lost 26.6 million people, more than any other country in human history.
26, that's a lot.
So
That's a fuckload of people.
yeah,
That's also because Stalin was killing his own people.
Yeah,
during
that's
that
true.
time, but-
Also,
the
it's like,
whole-
run out to the front line. Oh, don't run back.
Yeah, right.
the whole world shall tremble bit.
Yeah.
An
tanks.
invader worse than
And
I.
an invader worse than I, the same day Hitler invades your country.
And also in a very like far away and different and like
Like a 500-year difference.
Yeah, right. And five.
So they exhumed it. They took some things from it, and shit started.
Ballsy to read that
Right?
that inscription and be like, no, just grab some shit. Let's
no,
go.
no, whatever, dude.
No, dude, this is gonna look great on my mantle.
So shit starts going really bad. They get invaded by Hitler. They are not
As bad as it
they are
gets.
not winning this war.
Yep.
Millions and millions and millions of their citizens are dying.
Yeah, yeah.
They, in November of 1942, so a year and a half later, they decide to rebury him under full Islamic burial procedure.
Oh wow.
So they took it they didn't just like push the
Yeah.
shit back in and throw some dirt on top of it.
Yeah.
They gave him a full Islamic burial.
like take your ass back to sleep, please.
Yeah, go back to sleep.
Right. Leave us alone.
the same, within the same month, maybe less, the Red Army launched Operation Uranus successfully in Stalingrad, which ended up being the turning point on the Eastern Front of World War II. So the day they exhume him, they get invaded by Hitler. A year and a half, the day or around the time they decide to put him back and give him a full proper burial, the war turns back in their favor.
Damn.
Maybe they were just doing that because they like we have this plan. I mean, these operations take a long time to plan. So Operation whatever was whatever. Maybe they're like on their checklist. They're like, plus we got to put those fucking relics back so this shit doesn't
It can't
backfire.
hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need all the help we can get.
Yeah. Well, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot here.
All right.
So whether or not those things are actually related, whether one caused the other, whether it was just a coincidence, Stalin and the Soviets took it seriously enough to ascribe meaning to it.
Right.
And Amir Temur took his curse seriously enough to have it inscribed on both the outside and inside of his casket.
It's like now on the outside, it's like don't do it. And on the inside, you're fucked now.
Well, okay. So
you done did it. I told you.
The outside could be like to deter grave robbers and stuff, because I assume that has been a problem throughout history.
Right.
But the inside is really just like, no, you're actually fucked.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to kill you. And 26 million other people.
I meant that shit.
I really meant it.
That wasn't just a threat.
It's interesting because, like, in the definition, that whole concept of the perception of remarkable coincidences may lead to supernatural, occult, or paranormal claims as, like, an actual statement in the definition is like...
We got all of those.
Is it a statistical improbability, but also a thing that these things were opened and this all happened at the same time and they, like, ascribe meaning to it? Or is there actually meaning to it? You know, like...
As simple as like... Is it just a lot of coincidences? The 13th floors have horrible things happen, or is it, you know, like...
The probability aspect is interesting, and it's something that Jung gets into in Synchronicity.
Right.
And he quotes people that have tried to actually figure out the probability of certain events happening.
Oh, sure.
Like the probability of a telepathic precognition of death. So having a dream of someone dying and then having them actually die in the like immediate future.
Whoa.
And they calculate it to 1 in 4,100,000.
To be able to...
Considering that
1 out of 4 million times that you have a dream about somebody dying, they will actually die like the next day or within the next week.
Okay. All right. Sure.
And this one is even more out there, and I have no idea how they calculated this, but they calculated the probability of observing a ghost of a person.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's based on
facts or
well, it sounds like it's not. Yeah.
You gotta
but based on like reports of seeing the ghost of a specific person.
Right.
Okay.
And 1 out of every X amount of people has their ghost seen. But I don't know how you'd calculate that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they come up with the probability of seeing a quote phantasm of the living as so not a dead person. Okay, so seeing like your ghost
walking when I'm not there.
Yeah, or like a bi-location thing where you're here, but somebody in,
like, hey,
in
bro,
Maine
I saw you
thought they saw it. Yeah.
That's some astral projection shit.
Yeah.
Unconscious astral projection.
That's a good way of putting it. 1 in 800 million.
Okay. Whoa.
So
it's pretty low.
Yeah, but like really rare shit happens all the time.
Right.
Quote rare.
I was gonna say, if you got you got billions of people on the
right now. I mean, in all of history, it's.
I was gonna say that shit's happening at least once a day somewhere at any given time. You know, like even if it's 1 in 800 million, that means it's still happening. Like 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Or some, whatever 8 billion people.
Yeah, roughly.
And we were talking about this off air, but I think it's kind of interesting that they in some of the stuff about coincidences, they talk about the birthday problem, which is this like interesting math experiment basically where how many people in the same room do you have, and then at what probability is there that 2 people in that room have the same birthday? And the birthday problem states there's a shitload of math here that I'm not going to go into because I couldn't even begin to explain it, but mathematically with 23 people in one room, there's a 50% probability that 2 people in that room have the same birthday.
That is interesting math.
Isn't that wild? It doesn't sound right to me at all. Like my brain goes, what? That can't make sense.
Factorials or
I believe you. Because math doesn't always make sense to me.
Right. I trust people who are way better at numbers than me to do that. But I guess that just speaks to the idea that like rare shit happens all the time, or things that are seemingly more rare.
Or we perceive things to be more rare than they are.
Right.
It's your birthday too? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like Jung talks about that too. Like, if I
is
meet
that the
someone,
same birthday or date? Because I don't know.
That's not accounting for year.
Oh,
right?
no, that's not accounting for year.
I don't know if I know anybody with the same birth date as me, but I know obviously
hella people with
1/300th of my Facebook friends have the same.
Well, and then he talks about at what level do you ascribe it to coincidence or synchronicity? Like if I have the exact same birthday as you.
Right.
If you're born one day ahead or behind me.
Right.
If you have the same birthday as my mom.
Right.
All these different layers.
Right.
And then it gets to be really probable that one of those things happens.
Totally. The interesting thing about the story you just told is like the probability that a like all-time great evil dictator is going to invade a country on any given day is like that. I don't know how to do the math, but like probably way more rare than many of the things.
And I mean, that's the biggest loss of life ever during an invasion.
Right.
So it's one in infinite.
At least in modern history, because who knows what happened before a great flood.
Well, yeah, and then we're assuming that the population was higher, at that point than it had been at any previous point in history, which is probably true.
Right.
Probability is good.
That shit's crazy.
We got to take a break.
We're going to come back in a few moments here to talk with you about what if it's all connected.
We got some Russian coin stories.
We got some
Titanic stories.
We say goodbye to Termalerm and we say hello to Russian Spies and the Titanic. We'll be back shortly with the What If Podcast.
Shot Anonymous is our extra phone-in guest.
Yeah, put him on speaker for a second. Tell him you can be on it.
All right, you should give the podcast a shout out. You're on speakerphone.
Hey, this is Shot Anonymous. Shout out, hi.
We're back. It's the What If Podcast. We got a guest with us today, Chance York. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
How you is, my guy?
Man, I is swell.
I'm glad to hear that. I got a story that is involves less death and destruction than Timbaland brought to the world.
Well, shit. Only like 15 million?
Yeah, right.
Oh, boy.
We are talking about Russian spies, though, so like a little bit of death and destruction going on.
Cool. Subjective.
I guess, yeah, subjective, indeed. Russia again. Why Russia again?
It's a coincidence, bro.
It is a coincidence. I have a very interesting story, and to tell it, I would like to take you back to 1953.
Cool, I'm there. Go ahead.
The day is June 22nd.
Whoa.
June
22nd came up in our last story, too.
Wait, did it really?
No lie. That's the day that the shit got invaded.
Yeah.
When they opened the thing.
It's true.
Shut the fuck up.
Wait, really?
Coincidence?
They opened his tomb on June 22nd.
Fuck, that's weird. So for what it's worth, Spencer and I did not talk about these stories.
We don't actually plan anything.
And you wouldn't have known that had you not remembered and I not remember. If you didn't say it again, I would have been like, oh.
Yeah. Huh?
Awareness. Awareness is the key to a coincidence.
Usually I don't pay attention to shit.
But when you're talking about coincidence episodes.
When it comes to Russian spies, I'm on it.
I feel too weird to tell the rest of this story now. That was crazy. Yeah. The happy drum was very necessary in that moment. Holy shit. All right.
Show us what you got.
The day is June 22nd. Weird. In 1953, then the place is New York City. The subject of our attention is a young man named Jimmy Bozart. Like Mozart with a B.
Fake name.
Absolutely.
What's your name? Jimmy. Mozart.
Jimmy Schmelzmart.
I can't say Mozart. Mozart.
So Jimmy Bozart is a paperboy. And basically
fake job.
These days, kind of.
Undercover.
So Jimmy's collecting. Basically, you in that day you didn't pay for your paper in the way that like you have a credit card on file with the Star Tribune and like get your shit paid for and delivered.
You just gave Jimmy a nickel when he showed up?
You gave Jimmy a nickel when he showed up, or
50 papes.
Yeah. Papes for sale. Yeah, or like whatever, 50 cents a month or whatever the hell it was. I don't know the exact price of the Brooklyn Eagle was the paper.
Okay.
So not the Times,
Fake
but like
news.
a local paper in Brooklyn. So Jimmy feels like he was shysted upon because he's sorting through his take at the end of the day, and he's got this one nickel that feels weird to him and like feels like a fake coin. It feels light to him. He's pissed off. He goes outside. Jimmy takes his coin and he spikes it on the sidewalk. He's like, piece of shit, what is this? And the coin splits open. And it's a two-sided hollow coin. And inside of the coin, there is a small piece of microfilm. You know that shit that like they save newspapers on, that you put in a
some library still have
projector and it
Yeah.
becomes bigger and you can read it. And on this microfilm is a series of numbers, and we'll post a link to this, but I'm showing you guys in the room right now. Like, that's what it looked like. So
Those
it's like
Russians and spies love their numbers.
right. So it's literally let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns of probably 30 numbers each, and each number is just a 5-digit number, and there's like a number at the top and a number at the bottom. So this kid's obviously like, well, that's weird.
Never
Not
seen,
normally how nickels work.
Never seen a coin like that.
And all my papes collecting
fake
days,
coins.
that never happened to me.
Fake coins.
Fake coins. Definitely fake coins. So one of his classmates is an NYPD officer, and he's like telling kids at school, being like, isn't this shit crazy?
Wait.
How
One of
old
his
is this
classmates is a police officer?
He's a
One of his
paper boy.
classmates, the daughter of a police officer. Did I say that?
No, you said one of his
I think I said-
classmates is an NYPD
Oh,
officer.
no, I think I said one of his classmates' dad is an NYPD officer, but I might have blown
okay.
through the dad part.
You don't want to blow through the day.
That wasn't even that good, bro. That wasn't even that good.
The happy drum remains silent.
I started
Thank
laughing
you.
myself for
Thank
thinking
you.
that was funny. It was really stupid. I wasn't laughing at it for actually being funny.
All right. So telling this girl whose dad is an NYPD officer, the NYPD officer goes, that's kind of weird. Who tells the detective? The detective tells an FBI agent. There's basically just a bunch of people who are like, that's a pretty weird thing to find, right? And that FBI agent's like, hey, bring me that nickel. Because that seems like that's an important thing we should know. So basically, they try for years to figure this out. It was kind of common knowledge that back in the day, spies would use hollowed out trinkets to pass information.
Okay.
They would put like, they would take 2 batteries and they would hollow out the batteries, and then they'd put them in a flashlight, and then someone would like break the bulb and leave the flashlight in an alley, and then pick up the alley, and they would open up a battery, and there'd be like a note in there or whatever.
The kids at school will pop the ends off the pens, roll up a paper and stick it in there, and then put the cap back on the pen, and you lend the pen to
interesting.
somebody.
And then you got your note passing without it being, like literally kind of exact. Are your kids Russian spies?
They, maybe. They're good ones if they are.
Yeah, hell yeah. But this was like common practice, so I'm sure the FBI agent who heard that this was a thing was like, fuck that, that's some Russian spy shit, bring it here. So,
You have to have a lot of resources to make a fucking coin hollow.
right, totally.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
that's not some
plastic.
like, yeah,
And
it's
make
not
your own
some-
microfilm, and like I don't know, I wouldn't know how to make microfilm even like today, but in 1953 to make your own and put it in a hollow coin,
I
etc.
bet people knew more about film in 1953 than they do now, though.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Anyway,
per capita or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
per
yeah,
capita
yeah,
film
yeah,
knowledge was pretty high back in the 50s.
So basically for 4 years they keep this on file. We're kind of like, when was the Cold War officially? Anybody know the dates?
Post
1492 through I don't know.
Okay.
After World War II until like the late 80s.
I gotta-
90s.
Yeah, right, because it was like through
It's
that
like right
whole
after
time,
it was
right?
right after the war, basically.
All right. This has it at 79 through 85, but that can't be right? Oh no, 47
correct.
to 91.
There we go. Hey, I was pretty close.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in the Cold War at the time. They unsuccessfully they figure it's a code of some kind, but they can't break it. They're like, whatever. We fast forward to 1957, and the time we're in May of 1957, but I don't have the date, so we can't figure out whether the date itself is a coincidence.
Yeah, it wasn't June, so
It was
we're
June
good.
22nd again. But we're in Paris, and in Paris, a KGB agent by the name of I'm gonna read his code name or his taken name instead of his real name because I can't even remotely pronounce it. Eugene Nikolai Maki is in Paris, and he's getting recalled back to Moscow, to Russia. He's a spy, and he decides to defect in Paris. He's like, fuck this shit, I'm not going back, I don't want it.
French women are just too gorgeous.
Well, right, except what he really wants is he says, hey, I was a spy in the United States, I liked it there, I'd like to go back, please. If I tell you everything I know as a KGB agent who was living in the U.S. for however many years, can I come back? And the U.S. says, come on over, bud, and tell us what you know.
Have a seat right here, bud.
Yep.
And based on this, they wrote the TV show The Americans.
Is that, I don't know, I haven't seen it, so, but probably yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in the process of, what do they call it, where you like, you de-spyify someone? What do they call it?
Debriefing.
Debriefing. Which is usually...
They're taking his pants off.
Yeah, or his
Remove
briefs.
your briefs.
You got any coins in there?
They picked him upside down and shook him.
Yeah, right. But really, though, what they did was in the process of debriefing, which can, for depending on how long of an asset you are, like this can be a process of weeks or months or whatever. And so they take a really long time to figure out all the shit that Eugene Nikolai Maki knows. And in the process, they go, hey, we know that you motherfuckers were passing notes and shit. Does this look like some shit that you passed notes with? And he's like, yeah, basically, yes, it does. And as he's looking at it, he's like, okay, this is
looking at what?
The coin?
The coin. They brought the coin back out because the FBI had it, and they were like, oh, we're pretty sure this is related to Russian spying in some capacity.
Okay.
You just defected here. Tell us what you know about it. Eugene gives the FBI the info they need to crack this cipher. And we have like the actual text of what that thing that I just showed you says. And it says this. We congratulate you on a safe arrival. We confirm the receipt of your letter to the address V and the reading of letter number 1. 2. For organization of cover, we gave instructions to transmit you to 3,000 in local currency. Consult with us prior to investing it in any kind of business, advising the character of this business. 3. According to your request, we will transmit the formula for the preparation of soft film and news separately together with your mother's letter. 4. It is too early to send you the gammas and cipher short letters, but the longer ones make with insertions. All the data about yourself, place of work, address, etc. must not be transmitted in one cipher message. Transmit insertions separately. And lastly, number 5, the package was delivered to your wife personally. Everything is all right with the family. We wish you success. Greetings from the comrades. Number 1, 3rd of December. So what Nikolai finds out through the process of deciphering this, it's also got those 2 identifying numbers at the top. Mm-hmm. He realizes that his spy number is on the bottom of this, and that this coin was meant to be his welcome message when he first became a KGB spy in the United States. So whatever the number is on the bottom, it's like a long 12740/622. He had some sort of personally identifying thing. So, long story short, he basically, of all the KGB spies in the United States, this specific coin had gotten passed to him by someone as a welcome message that he never figured out, and worked the coin back into circulation in New York City. And 4 years later, they presented him with the coin that was supposed to originally welcome him to the United States as a spy. And he decrypted it for them.
How many spies do you think there were? Because that's the only statistic that really juggles how amazing.
Right.
I feel you.
Well,
I'm sure there was a lot.
I mean,
it's the Cold War we're talking.
But to the idea that this was one of the only things that, at least as far as we know, was like an identifying thing specific to him that they had possession of, and that he was the one that decided to defect and come back and find his own welcome. I mean, I feel you. Like if there was 100 people, then any defector, like you had a 1 in 100 chance of their welcome message being the one. But it's also about like how many nickels fall out of circulation in New York City on a day-to-day basis for like falling down dumpsters. And
the fact that it was found in the first place is pretty unlikely.
It's pretty unlikely, especially, and that it was kept for 4 years, and like the I don't know, the chances as you kind
it
of
could have been kept in a sock drawer and no one would ever found out about it. Even after he discovered the message, the point that it made it to the FBI is kind of amazing.
Right.
Obviously,
there are a lot of steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah, it's not as like maybe specifically June 20. Were you trying to emulate the happy drum?
It's as close as I can get.
We got to the punchline. That is our happy drum replacement. So yeah, this dude also snitched on like all of his counterparts and people, and a bunch of people got arrested, which is less related. But yeah, I just thought that was like a hella fascinating. Like, again, a lot of small things had to happen for that dude to come face to face with his welcome coin as a KGB agent.
The objects coming back to people's stories is an interesting subset.
Yeah, there's a lot of these.
Yeah.
The interesting thing too about it is, to your point, Chance, of like how many spies were there. Also, how many years had it been since he was a spy there? You know, because like, just because the kid found it in 1953, 4 years before he defected, like.
Maybe he'd been getting passed around for years before that.
Maybe he lived in the U.S. since 1944, and this was like the first time that someone had gone like, I wonder if I spike this hard enough on the ground, if I can get it to crack open because it feels weird to me. So like it could have been in circulation in New York City for like 15 years.
Scam.
Good thing that kid was observant.
Right.
It's a good thing that kid has a powerful throw.
And good thing that kid's classmate's dad is an NYP agent, and that he knew a detective who knew an FBI agent who said this looks like something we might want to know about.
Crazy shit.
Lots of things.
June 22nd, apparently an important day for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
In Russia.
Yeah, only Russian related
only in
things.
Russia.
All right, last story.
We got one more coinky dink.
I got a short one, yeah.
We got one more coinky dink.
About the Titanic.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You guys know, obviously you're familiar with the story of the Titanic.
Can we play this song? I think we can't.
Don't worry about it. We don't make any money.
I think we can't play this.
They can sue us for some of the negative money we've made off this podcast.
That's true.
Never let go. I'm free.
Dude.
Okay. We'll stop that before you guys all turn off the podcast.
Shouts out to the guy who played the out-of-tune recorder over that song.
There
That's
was
amazing.
a book written in 1898 called The Wreck of the Titan.
Is this in Russia?
It was not in Russia.
All right,
no.
just checking.
It was written by Morgan Robertson.
Hey, coincidence. I've been watching Attack on Titan. That's some cool shit.
Boom.
Titan. The
Titan.
word Titan.
Also a moon.
Are we all Titans?
Also a moon, isn't it?
Titan
Yes.
the moon?
Yeah. Going back to our space dolphins. Anyway, The Wreck of the Titan. It's a book from 1898 written by Morgan Robertson. And the story centers around a fictional ocean liner called the Titan.
Okay.
And the Titan sinks in the North Atlantic Ocean after striking an iceberg.
And what year? Wait.
On
what?
a night in April. And
Iceberg season.
Yeah, it might be.
well, yeah.
Might
I mean,
be.
that the April part might not really be a coincidence. That there might be a reason for that. And half of the people on the Titan die largely because there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone.
Whoa.
So obviously this is very similar to the Titanic,
Which happened like 20 years later or
which
something?
happened, what was it,
22 years.
1912 or 19, I don't know. Yeah, like 1920-ish.
On June 20th.
No, also in April.
June 22nd.
From what I read, the book came out 14 years before the original plans for the Titanic came out.
Whoa.
So I think the Titanic, well, whatever, we sound dumb, but I think it was like 1920 or something at the Titanic.
Why are we wondering? We have
I was
the
gonna
internet.
say,
Yeah,
right
we
here.
all, whatever.
Googler's
Look that up.
disabled.
I'm looking right now.
Okay. So there were even more similarities between the two. So obviously it's crazy that something so similar was written fictionally, well in advance of anyone. What do we got?
1912.
But
okay.
in literature, you tend to think maybe that's just a common practice. They build these big ass boats with not enough life rafts and everything. Like all fiction is based in reality.
I'll get to that part. So the name is obviously it's a coincidence, but also Titanic, huge, Titan. Kind of similar vibes with huge ocean liners.
It's a
Oh,
very,
wait, what
very
was the name of
similar
the
words.
book?
The Wreck of the Titan, Titan.
That's really fucking good.
As in Titanic.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's phenomenally close.
Whoa.
So there's some more similarities between the two. The name, the fact that it sank in April in the North Atlantic after hitting an iceberg, the fact that there were not enough lifeboats for the passengers. The Titan in the book was 800 feet long. The Titanic was 882 feet long. The Titan had a max speed of 25 knots. The Titanic had a max speed of 22.5 knots. They were both in the book and in real life described as unsinkable and were the largest boat on the ocean at the time. The Titanic carried only 16 lifeboats, which I did not realize.
And how many passengers again?
The Titanic had 2,200.
It's pretty typical practice for them to just not give a fuck. They were like, they really thought they were unsinkable.
Right. They had 2,200 passengers and 16 lifeboats. The Titan in the book carried, quote, as few as the law allowed, which they said was 24.
Which was even less.
Well, but they had 2,500 passengers.
As few as the law would allow.
Of course.
It's like,
sounds like every corporation I know.
Yeah. Was it? Doesn't Chappelle have that joke about the minimum wage where he's like, the only thing the minimum wage means is if they could pay you less, they would.
Yeah, right.
If we could have less lifeboats on the Titan, we would have less.
The Titanic struck an iceberg on the starboard side on the night of April 14th, 1912. I guess I could have read my own notes. In the North Atlantic, 400 nautical miles away from Newfoundland. The Titan, moving at 25 knots, struck an iceberg on the starboard side on an April night in the North Atlantic, 400 nautical miles from Newfoundland.
The same spot?
The exact same location. Yeah.
Is this a conspiracy?
Yeah.
There are some crazy Titanic conspiracies out there.
What was the repercussions on like in a global market of the Titanic sinking?
Yeah,
there definitely were some. But we're not going to get into all the conspiracy shit.
So this was entirely designed after the book of the Titan to do what?
Yeah, I don't know what the motivation would be, but who knows? The Titanic sank with more than half of its 2,200 passengers dying. The Titan also sank. More than half of her 2,500 passengers died.
I thought like most of the people on the Titanic died. Is that true or no?
So there
was only 16 lifeboats. So
they had 2,200 passengers. 705 lived. So about 2/3 died. Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's crazy.
Following the Titanic sinking in 1912, a lot of people credited Robertson, the author of this book, as being psychic or clairvoyant.
Yeah, I can see why they would do that.
Which he denied, claiming the similarities were explained by his extensive knowledge of shipbuilding and maritime trends.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
So he was saying these are just things like, I knew a lot about building ships and what was going on.
Being iceberg season
at the time. Yeah.
The most dangerous part of a route. And
so if someone were to build a huge, quote, unsinkable ship, here's sort of what it would look like. Here's the size it would be. If anything were going to be able to sink an unsinkable ship, it would probably be an iceberg. Here's where they would be. This was sort of the time of year that you would run into them. It would probably happen at night because you wouldn't be able to see it.
Right.
So he's saying, like, I just kind of did my homework and these things make sense. And then the fact that it actually happened is obviously just a coincidence.
Yeah.
But it's a long list of coincidences.
Yeah. There's like
down to the name, down to the number of people, the size of the ship, the
right.
exact location. I think that one's the weirdest to me. Is because there are lots of places in the ocean where you could hit an iceberg. Mm-hmm. To be, within a mile of where it actually happened is pretty nuts.
That is a little wild.
Especially since in the book you wouldn't even have to say exactly where it happened, right?
And that just comes to
you wouldn't. Yeah.
If the dude is doing all this research and figuring out like and creating this story, it's like like who knows? Just being aware, like looking around and like observing the things. It's like you can somewhat predict the future just off of having enough knowledge of how things work.
But so he could have predicted that this ship would have been built. That's not that crazy. No, predicting
on its maiden voyage and all that
predicting,
shit,
when and where and how it's going to sink. That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
It's the awareness of the world. Time is circular, man. Like
because that's going against any trends at the time. In that, these were supposedly unsinkable ships. So if you were following maritime trends, as he said, that doesn't really line up saying that it would sink on its first voyage.
There's like a small part of me that goes like, was the Titanic somehow inspired by any of this? Like some of that language or some of, if we wanted to make an unsinkable.
How big was this book? Did a lot of people know about it? Like how
popular was it? I don't really know. I think it obviously gained a lot of popularity after the Titanic sank.
Sure.
Right.
But
I don't know.
Like,
I don't think
came
he was
first. Did the whole concept? Yeah, exactly.
But again,
having this book in existence could shape people to have these ideas. But obviously,
to steer it into an iceberg, that part still doesn't.
Fuckload of coincidence.
Yeah.
Again, maybe the naming of it, or maybe some of the you read the book and then 12 years later, oh yeah, that is a good idea for how we should construct this.
And did the dude in the power of the universe, just spending so much time thinking about this scenario happening?
Did he project it into
project
being
it
somehow?
or just observe it happening from the future?
Yeah.
When you set your mind to a certain parameters and stuff, who knows? I don't know.
It is to your point, to maybe take it up a level, how dissimilar is thinking about and imagining a massive ship crisis? How different is the ability to digest that vision and write it down than how different it is to be in a room 4 rooms down from somebody else looking at a picture and them being able to suss out details of the picture that they're looking at. From a cosmic scale, those things to me are not supremely dissimilar.
Right.
They're definitely different. You're talking about time and place and
that's
events, but still.
That's something that Jung brings up in Synchronicity, that if these things are really connected somehow, time and space can't matter.
Sure.
That there has to be some other, because then you get into one causing the other, and there being some causal relationship between the two. If they are just synchronistic things, the distance across which they're happening and the time across which they're happening aren't factors.
Right.
And so I guess that that would support what you're saying of, maybe seeing an event from 14 years in the future is no different than, and whatever it would have been 1,000 miles away is no different than seeing something that's happening right now on the other side of a wall.
Right. And that too speaks to maybe things are connected in a way that we just don't understand. But if you can go up a high enough level, I don't know. It's weird.
Like Nostradamus shit, It's if he was making his way into, even if it was not hallucinogens or whatever, if he was making his way into these, where he's in some sort of state where he's seeing
a trance state or something,
right? Where you're seeing these things, you're basically just dreaming and opening up all your sensory capabilities to whatever. It's you can see the future,
collective consciousness.
Well, this too makes me think about that whole idea that we're only currently using whatever it is, 18% of our brain mass or power, or I don't know. Is that wrong? Are you making a face,
I think that's
Spencer?
just a thing that people like to say. I don't know if there's any science behind that.
Okay.
It is that it's not.
It's a fun idea, though.
It's not. People aren't using all their. People definitely aren't exercising their brains to the capacity that they can be used. That's for sure.
Right.
I think that statement goes something more like, at any given time, you're only using X amount of your brain power. But
and isn't it too true that in high stress or crazy situations, our brains jump up in terms of how much they're being used and how much energy is being used in our brains.
And in meditation and stuff like that, there's definitely ways to activate more.
I guess
I think it's sort of misleading in that, though. You could say the same thing about your muscles. At any given time, you're only using 12% of the muscles in your body. It's because I'm right now I'm not. But if I need to stand up and walk across the room, now I am. Or if I need to pick something up, now I'm using, not at any given time, I'm not using all of my muscles to their full capacity.
I guess, but the idea being that when you're sprinting, you're going faster.
You're using more of your muscles.
You're using more of your muscles. But because you're using more of your muscles, you're going faster. In the way that in a high stress situation, when you're using more of your brain power, you are digesting information faster and able to perform at like a higher level. Yeah. I guess all I'm trying to say is, it makes me think about that sometimes as it relates to this stuff, because, you know, to the point of the cards, colored or pictures in other rooms thing, there have been experiments that have shown, not that with 100% accuracy, but that people with a decent amount of focus
a statistically significant amount of accuracy
can beat randomness. And that to me says a lot about the possibility that we are interconnected in a way that is more thorough.
And think of it like this, like on a macro level, it's like this universe is huge and we're on this globe or whatever, and the Earth could be alive and it could just be like Gaia or whatever. And then you, like, if you think just like more micro, if like we're just these tiny things in this huge thing, it's like, do you think the cells in your hand are like, oh, my fucking bills, man. Like, oh, dude, my baby mama's stressing, man. You know, like, you think they're thinking about selfish-ass things, and then the cell that they bump into next is like, nah, man, we're like all connected in this thing. They call it the fucking hand, and you just gotta like believe in it, man, and work together and spread this love, and like, you'll find harmony and everything will make more sense. You know, it's like, it's that, you know, like if you see, like we can't really understand how interconnected everything is, but no matter what, we're fucking interconnected because we're on this thing.
Right.
And we have this, you know, humongous, like, self-value of the ego saying like, yeah, no, it's like me doing this thing and, you know, fuck everybody else. I'm in this, it's me against the world, baby. You know, but it no matter what, we're tiny in a larger thing, and we're interacting in ways, and we're passing by each other, and we're affecting each other, and all this stuff. And who's to say, you know, what the point of it is? But it's definitely connected in whatever scope you look at it. You know, like
I like that idea of we're all here, so we are connected because we're all here.
Right. We can't grasp how many times, like, oh, you know, like you said something to me 2 years ago, and I don't even remember you told it to me, and then I told it back to you, and it reaffirmed, you know, or like expand, you know, like.
Well, there's so many things that happen on a subconscious or unconscious level too that we're not aware of, but are just as influential and just as meaningful as the things that we're consciously doing and processing and saying to each other.
For sure. The light that we can't see, the energy that we can't feel, but
even without getting into a more kind of metaphysical level of things, like there's subconscious could explain a lot of coincidences.
Yeah.
And a lot of that unused mental space too, you know, like
your
subconscious is doing shit even if you're not conscious of it.
Crazy dream I had the other night related to that, and then we should wrap up because because it's time to wrap up. I for the first time, and I want to do an episode on dreams sometime soon. Yeah, and recording them and all kinds of stuff.
Spencer and I are going to keep dream journals for a week, and then we're going to talk about it on the podcast.
I think we should do longer than that. But
okay, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Whew, I did that once.
I for the first time.
I know, dude.
I've done it before. It's a lot of fun. For the first time the other night, I had a dream where I woke up inside of a dream and was still dreaming. You guys ever do that?
You were
not recently, but I have a bunch.
So no. Like
you think you're awake, but you're still dreaming because you just woke up.
Yeah. So I'm having this dream.
That should happen.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. Like as in you woke up in your bed and sat up.
I'll describe what happened. Go ahead. So apparently I've been doing too much podcast research before bed and thinking about psychokinesis and stuff.
Weird shit.
So I'm having this dream. And I don't remember what I was doing. I was like riding my bike somewhere or something. And I wake up from the dream. And I'm in my house and I was like on the couch. I had apparently fallen asleep on the couch. And I wake up just for some reason thinking that I have like telekinetic powers. I was just convinced of this and could like feel it in me. I was like, I could just move shit by looking at it. And there's this glass bowl sitting on the table next to me, next to the couch. And I was like, I'm gonna move that bowl. I think I can do this. And I started like, I started doing the like force hands, being like, like doing the force push. And I remember I saw the bowl start to like wobble a little bit. And I was like, holy shit, this is all real. And I pushed it.
Finally!
Yes.
And I was like, I just kept going and I pushed it a little more and it fell off the table. And as it hit the ground and shattered, I woke up for real in my bed.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It had never happened to me before. The like Inception multi-level dream shit.
Fam,
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, that was a new one for me.
fam, did wife cats wake up next to you because you just audibly went, oh, man!
Damn it.
It was hella disappointed.
It was super disappointing.
Oh, my God, for sure.
And that's why you woke up, because it triggered your emotions. You had an emotional reaction.
That bowl represented my emotional shattering.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Of you going, this paranormal
Fuck, it's
power
still
I've
not
worked
real.
for my
Yeah,
whole life
yeah,
is
still not there.
a thing.
I remember the most vivid, the first time that I can like recall that happening is when I quit smoking weed for the first time. I was on probation in high school and I couldn't smoke weed. My dreams were hella vivid because that's just a natural response. But it was like a terrifying dream of like these tiny like clown midgets with chainsaws in my bedroom. And like I woke, I was like, holy shit, that was fucked up. And I get up and like go out my bedroom to like go tell my parents or something. And there's another one in the hallway and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, no. And that was like, that was the layer. I was like, this is fucking terrifying. I'm gonna smoke weed whether I pass this away or not.
Now I need to smoke weed because I'm stressed out.
Because I'm gonna get murdered by a clown. Oh man, maybe maybe we should get a bigger gang in on the dreams episode. We can all talk about
be a lot
our
of fun.
weirdest dreams. Chance, thank you for coming on, brother. It's good to see you. We'll see you at the live show, which will have happened by the time you hear this.
And I'm sure it was great. And thanks for coming.
And thanks for coming, everyone. And
Bless you.
Damn, y'all missed out if you didn't. But yeah, I think that's all we got for the week.
See.
We gonna see you next week on the What If podcast.
Listen to the new Kendrick.
Hey, do that.
Whether it's 1 or 2 albums, whatever it is, listen to it. Peace.
Love you. Bye.
We want to hear from you. Send us a message. Email hi, that's hi, at whatifpodcast.com. Or leave us a voicemail at 612-246-4614.